Welcome, everyone, to our first podcast episode ever, Foreigners in Finland. My name is Felipe, and I'm accompanied by my co-host, Jarrod. And yeah, we both moved to Finland 3 years ago. We came here to study our master's degree at Aalto University, and we've been good friends ever since, and now we're even working together. So we got this idea to come together. And Jarrod, why don't you tell them a little bit about what we're doing here?
Yeah, this podcast is going to be super interesting. We're going to come together, talk about our experiences in Finland, and we're going to share some of the things that we've learned, some of the things that maybe some other people don't know, and maybe do some self-reflection along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Jarrod and I both kind of agree that we just have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, just a lot to share, different experiences, different perspectives. And yeah, we hope you enjoy the first episode.
You're listening to Foreigners in Finland, a podcast that explores the experiences of people who moved here from abroad. My name is Felipe Silva. I'm originally from New York, and I'm accompanied by my co-host Jarrod Luxton from Melbourne, Australia. We talk about why people come here, some challenges foreigners face, and all the incredible things this country has to offer. We hope our discussions help anyone new to Finland get accustomed to life here and bring new perspective to Finns.
We're just going to talk about the experience of a foreigner in Finland, and try and give perspective to Finns, but also share our experience with other foreigners and kind of see if people relate to anything we're saying. If people are thinking about moving to Finland, what they can expect.
We're going to be like demystifying the land of the Finns.
I like that.
It's going to be
demystifying,
right? Because I think there's a lot of mystery. People want to know.
A lot of people don't know much about Finland.
They don't.
If at all. Like,
no.
What do your friends say back at home?
Well, quite often my friends ask me how my time in Sweden is going, which I think goes to show somehow of the lack of awareness of Finnish culture. But hey, that's why we're here.
How do you respond to your friends when they say that for the fifth time?
Well, you know, I mean, it's a strong dose of ignorance on their part, but that's all right. Look, I think this podcast is going to be really interesting. We're going to get a chance to sort of talk through our experiences, talk through maybe some things that you can resonate with if you're a foreigner in Finland. And yeah, let's have some fun with it. That's the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the first thing would be like, why would someone come to Finland in the first place as a foreigner? Like, what motivates people to move to Finland? That's the question.
Isn't it an interesting one?
Yeah.
Because I think it's also the first question you get asked when you come to Finland.
Always.
Hey, why did you move to Finland?
Yeah.
Why did you do this thing?
Why did you come here?
It's almost like an interrogation of every Finnish person when you first move here.
Yeah. And I guess it depends on like where you're coming from as well. Like most time, I would say a lot of people are surprised. Especially like if I tell them I'm from the States, from New York, they're like, why would you come here?
Yeah.
You know? And then I kind of have to give them my whole spiel of how I ended up in.
What's the story?
Yeah, what's the story? What about you? Like if you tell people you're from Melbourne, Australia, are they most of the time usually shocked that you're here?
I think they're surprised and then curious. It's funny. You get asked that question, and then you sort of respond, well, you know, I'm in Finland. I'm here to, you know, I've got a Finnish partner. I'm here to work, like whatever the story may be. Yeah. And then the first question that always comes from is like, but what about the weather? Finnish people are so clued into the weather, you know.
They are. I mean, it's such a big part of the lives of Finns. No, I mean,
it is.
It's really. It influences so much of their culture, of their lifestyle.
I think it's interesting. So when someone asks me, like, why would I trade the weather of Australia for the weather of Finland? Speaking as an Aussie, we don't travel for the weather. We know we have good weather, but there is more to life than weather.
That's true.
It's sometimes difficult to convince Finnish people of that, but...
weather is a lot. Like, it's a big part of people's lives and livelihood. But like you're saying, it's not everything. And Finland has a lot more to offer. But yeah, so we were talking about why people come to Finland. And, okay, we touched about that Finns are usually surprised when we say that we've come here to, like, live, not just, you know, study. But I would say most of the times, the most common story I hear about other foreigners is that they have a partner. And it's usually a female partner. And I might get some heat for this, but I'm just like, being honest. Like,
I mean, I guess you just know what you hear about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I've got a Finnish female partner.
Yeah.
And that's the main reason I'm here in Finland.
Yeah.
But when you arrive in Finland, then you start to realize all the nice things about it. I think Finland grows on you.
It does.
It's not something obvious when you like choose to live somewhere. It's not the glamorous place.
Yeah.
It's not the shiny, like attractive place.
You're realizing that there's more to Finland.
You start to enjoy it. I think as an Australian coming to Finland, like obviously there was some sort of shock because it is different. I mean, in many ways it's similar, but in the same breath, in many ways it's very, very different. But I think what you start to realize is that you start to value some other things that maybe Finns take for granted. Maybe they take for granted like the security of life here and, the social safety net and also just the more like calm and small cities that exist here. That's also, I mean, some people may see that as a negative, but others might see it as a positive. And coming from a larger city, I really think that there's some major positives to living in a place like, for instance, Helsinki, where we both live, that has capital city vibes, but also small city benefits.
Capital city vibes.
I can see you smiling. You already know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. We'll get into that a bit later. But we do have a lot to talk about when it comes to Helsinki and just the smaller city vibes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, partners, that's like one of the main reasons. Family.
As a draw card.
Card.
Yeah.
And also being able to live in such like a nice society that works.
Safety and like security, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The security aspect.
Yeah.
And the safety for raising a family. Like, I don't know if there are many other places that are better than Finland to have kids. Like, the social benefits of having kids here are like
pretty insane.
Pretty incredible.
I recently visited Australia and I got talking with friends there about the parental leave and how like the Finnish society treats parents like during work. And I can honestly say people were gobsmacked.
Yeah.
I honestly think if like the tourism sort of tourism Finland used their parental scheme as the main reason to move to Finland, there would be a shitload of Aussies on the plane over here. And those are the types of things that you don't notice when you first decide to move somewhere. You don't usually go onto the government website and check the parental leave scheme.
Absolutely not.
That's what I'm talking about. Finland grows on you. You start to realize these things about society. It's nice.
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
nice. It's comfortable.
But yeah, speaking about work, many foreigners also come to work in Finland. I was surprised to see that it was just as common as like family, because I wouldn't have assumed that. I would assume that like a lot less people come here for work than for a partner or family reasons.
And maybe we can get into this a bit later, but I think also because getting work as a foreigner here in Finland can be one of the biggest challenges. If you start to think about the language barrier, some of the different cultural things that might be difficult to get into work. Yeah. I think it's also surprising to me to see that work is one of the bigger draw cards.
Yeah. I would say like you have to be in a very specific field that does international work that's working in English. And then those are the foreigners that are coming here for work because, of course, no one's coming here to work a job where they have to speak Finnish. I would be very surprised if anyone ever came here to like work a job in Finnish without, or even if they knew some of the language. Like I feel that most people who are immigrating to Finland are working a job that requires them to speak in English because there's an international market.
But it's very interesting, and I think looking at how difficult Finnish is to learn, I can vouch for that one personally. I think that it's really important if Finland wants to be competitive and attract people from around the world, that it has to accommodate and it has to think about how we're going to get these people into work. Not just attract the students, which is also another draw card of for people to come to Finland. How do we retain those students so that they start to pay taxes here in Finland and fund all these lovely things about Finnish society?
Absolutely. But yeah, the third most popular reason for foreigners to come to Finland is to study. And when you have such a high number of foreign exchange students or or people from abroad coming to study and using the Finnish education system, higher education system, wouldn't you want to retain some of those people who have now learned so much and you've been teaching them? Wouldn't you want them to enter your job market?
I'm sure that I'm positive that is the goal.
That's the goal.
But I think the thoughts that need to happen is how can we better accommodate people that are maybe struggling to learn Finnish. And learning Finnish to go down to the pub and go to a party is very different to learning Finnish to have to then work in Finnish. So
Absolutely.
I think that's something that I think Finland could improve on. Not saying I have the answers, because obviously it doesn't make sense to switch everything from Finnish to English.
Yeah.
But we need to think about how that works here, because I think from personal experience, I know actually many people that have studied some time in Finland. They've studied some time in Sweden. And in Sweden, they've had actually a much easier time to find work as a foreigner because there's a more of an international flavour in some of the positions that are available. Speaking the local language is not so much of a requirement.
Yeah.
But here in Finland, I feel like it can be a barrier.
For sure. And I wonder, like, what it's like in the other Nordic countries. Like, if you're saying it's easier for international students to find work in Sweden than it is compared to Finland, what about Norway or Denmark?
Yeah. I can't say I know. That could be an interesting topic for us to discuss some other time.
But yeah, I mean, I think that gives a pretty good outlook for why foreigners are coming to Finland in the first place.
Even the fact that almost 10% of the people living in this country are foreigners or classed as foreigners, that's something to consider, especially when you're thinking about how to make society sort of work and benefit everyone in Finland. I mean, trying to retain people that want to be here, you know, and keep them here. The fact that Finland is like known as this community and this country that, you know, provides security, provides a comfortable, safe lifestyle. Does that attract a certain type of person?
I would say yes. And it kind of keeps the vibe and flavor of the society going. Because I think if someone is just money hungry,
isn't the destination,
or looking to like prove something by like status, this is really not the destination for that.
No. Because status doesn't play much of a role in Finnish society. This has been an interesting learning for me. It's been one of those facts that status really doesn't play a big role in society. It's not something that you talk about. It's not something that you flex.
It's not something that you boast. I mean, if you're boasting about what you got, your status, I mean, people look at you like, what are you doing? Like, this is not. It's not really an attractive trait to have.
No.
And like you said, status doesn't really show itself even in the universities. Like, you would call your professor by their first name. You would never say Professor so and so, you know.
Yep.
You say, hey, what's up, Marco? Like, and that gave a certain type of vibe in the classroom. It gave some kind of like it set the tone, you know, for the lectures, for the learning process, how approachable a professor was. Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think one thing Finland is known for internationally is how good their education system is. I feel like if you asked somebody who has a general knowledge of the world, they would know that Finland has a good education system. And maybe it's something to do with that lack of status, sort of the flat environment that you learn in, that contributes to something like that. I know we've both experienced that in our classes, and I think that's something that, you know, it is beneficial for Finland to stay that way.
Yeah. What do you think some of the major benefits are for Finland staying that way?
Well, I think status can become toxic quickly. I think if your society is too focused on like what you have and what others see that you have, that can become toxic, not just for society also, but for you as a person. If you define yourself through material things and then sort of the way that you outwardly show what you have, I think that's a problem that I see not only in sort of Australian culture, but also sort of as a third person seeing like also American culture.
Yeah. It's just keeping up with Jones, basically keeping up with your neighbor. If your neighbor has this new car, you kind of feel the pressure to get this new car because you want to keep your status or just, you know, feel good about making that purchase, but it only lasts a second, really, or maybe a few days. But but then you're back to that same feeling.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't think that exists in Finland. There might be some sort of.
I'm sure some people go through it and experience it, but it's not like an overarching theme for Finns.
It's not set into the culture,
and they kind of do what they can to suppress that from ever getting out of control.
Yeah,
which is, I would say, a wonderful thing, because then you can focus about things that are like actually important. Yeah, I think we're like getting to the end of it. I mean, there's a few more things that we could talk about.
Yeah,
maybe we could touch on about some like current events going on in Finland. You were telling me today, Jarrod, that something about the Finnish passport. What was it?
Well, the Finnish passport was just ranked the 3rd best passport in the world. Now that to me was a surprise. So the ranking is to how many countries can you get into visa free.
Okay, that's the ranking system.
And I believe it was the Japanese and then Singaporean passports that were the two in first and second place, and then Finland.
Wow.
Now, I think this is interesting for foreigners in Finland because many foreigners that come here and they like it, they're thinking about becoming a citizen, right? Yeah. You're about to get the 3rd best passport in the world.
It's a big utility
That's pretty clutch.
Get. Yeah, very clutch.
That's pretty clutch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always knew that the Finnish passport was very powerful, but I always thought it ranked somewhere like in the bottom of the top 10, you know.
Before coming to Finland, I can honestly say I had no idea.
Yeah.
That it was like a very useful or powerful passport to have.
Yeah, so this brings us towards the end of the show.
Yeah.
And we just want to thank you guys for sticking around. Hopefully you've enjoyed our discussion. And if you want to reach out to us,
please do. We're going to put our contact details in the description of this video.
Yeah.
So reach out to us. Any comments, questions?
Absolutely. We'd love to hear your story, your perspective on any of the topics that we talked about. And maybe we'll even share some if that's all right.
Absolutely.
And
But hey, thanks for listening. Yeah. Episode number 1, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you in the next one.